We're going to do a value study together, so pause the video and get a piece of paper and a pencil. Fold your paper in half because we're going to do a value scale on the top and a drawing on the bottom. Pause this video as often as you need to keep up with the lesson. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. To start, draw 5 circles on your paper. They don't have to be perfect, just 5 circles about the size of a nickel. The circle all the way to the right we're going to label shadow or shade because that's going to be the very darkest circle in our value scale. And the circle all the way to the left we're going to label highlight or tint because highlight is going to be our highest light, our lightest circle. We're going to color that right-hand circle really dark. I want you to color it as dark as you possibly can because it will be our darkest circle. Remember, it's our shadow or shade. Press really hard. We're not going to color our highlight tint circle because that is the highest light. We're going to let the white page be the highest light. We're going to go to the second circle in and very lightly we are going to color in a very light gray. Okay, you can use your finger to blend it in a little bit. It's kind of a little artist trick there to make it a nice soft gray. And now let's look at our last two. We've got this circle here. It needs to be darker than this one. So this time we are going to color in, but we're going to press a little bit harder. Not too hard, not like we pressed all the way when we were doing the right hand circle. But we are going to press a little bit harder because we want this circle to be a little bit darker than the one next to it. So what we're trying to do is go from lightest light to darkest dark. So take your time. When you're done, you want to use your finger like I did a minute ago and do it a little blending. You can. It'll give it a nice soft gray look. For the last circle we want it to be darker than this one and lighter than that one. So we're going to color it in. I'm going to press kind of hard, but not as hard as we did for the shadow shade scale, the one all the way to the right. And I love that what we're making is called a value scale because if you think about music, in music when you have a musical scale, your notes go from low to high and high to low. And a value scale is very similar in that it goes from light to dark and dark to light. Let's use what we just learned to do a little drawing. So up here I'm going to make a sun, and that sun is going to be my light source for my drawing, so I know where to put my highlights and my shadows. And you can see my little sun rays are going to come down in this general area in that direction. So I'm going to draw a couple of ellipses or ovals, and those I'm going to turn into like a little flower vase. So I'm just going to draw some lines to connect them and another smaller little ellipse or oval and connect that. And that's a little bit of a cheater way to make an easy flower vase. And once you're done, you can go in and erase those ellipses that helped you get the proper shape of that. Okay? And I'm going to add a few more. One that kind of looks like a can I think will be next. And I just want to remind you guys, as you're drawing, I'm drawing kind of fast and I've been drawing for a long time. If I am drawing too fast for you, hit pause and feel free to hit rewind. Go back and forth between this video so you can keep up with me. Okay, so there's a little, looks like a can or maybe a candle holder. And over here I'm going to make another little bottle with my ellipses. Once you're done drawing your bottles, we're going to add a horizon line, which is a line that goes behind our bottles and jumps over them, and that is where our table line is. So it gives you a sense of space for your drawing. Now, over here, remember the sun's coming this way, so on the left side of all my bottles is going to be my highest light or my highlight. So I'm not going to put a lot of shading or shadow over there at all. On the right hand side, that's going to be my shadow. So since my light's coming down, I'm going to cast my shadow to the left hand side of my page. And you can see I'm drawing my little shadows underneath my bottles, and I'm going to use my finger to blend them and kind of diffuse them. You know, as a shadow goes further away from the object, it gets lighter. So that's a great way to use your finger to diffuse that shadow. For this first vase, I'm going to use a cartooning way to make value. And so I'm going to draw little lines that kind of curve a little bit to mimic the roundness of the vase. And I'm going to draw this all the way to the top. Then I'm going to go back and add kind of a crosshatch line, a line that crosses over the first one, almost like making little mini X's. You see that? That's how you would do that if you were cartooning. And I'm going to even go back and make it a little bit darker on that left hand side, because remember, that's my side in the shadow, the side that's furthest away from my sunlight. I'm going to draw some shorter lines there, and you can make this as dark as you want on that side. The more short little lines that you make on that left hand side, the darker the shadow will look. So what I'm trying to do here in this little vase is I'm trying to use every single value in my value scale from my darkest to my light. So for this next little we'll call it a can or candle holder, I'm going to start with my darkest dark, and I'm going to press really, really hard. This is another way that you can add value, and it's going to be a softer, more blended way in the end. So press really, really hard and give me a nice line of that darkest value, as dark as you can get. Remember, we're doing the darkest on the left hand side because it's the side furthest away from the sun. Then I'm going to go up to my value scale, and I'm going to use my second color, that color, the second darkest. And I'm going to press kind of hard, but not as hard as I did for the first line. Alright? Then I'm going to go and use that middle value, that kind of in the middle. So I'll be pressing, but not very hard. I'm lightening up as I go. And you can already kind of see how I'm lightening up as I go. There we go. And then I'm going to go to that very lightest gray, and I am barely touching the paper with my pencil. I am barely touching it. Okay? Once you're all done with that, use your finger to blend it, and that's going to give it a really soft, pretty look, and it's going to make it look realistic. Now, I overblended a little bit and I lost my highlight. So look what I'm doing with my eraser. I'm reintroducing my highlight with my eraser. So that is two different ways you can add value. Now for this last one, you pick. Do you want to try using the cross hatching? Do you want to try using the blending? Or do you want to try combining them? Great job! Finish the rest of the lesson to see how you add value to color. On a separate page, when the lesson's all done, you will upload your beautiful drawings that you just created using value.